And here we go.
Welcome to the Poundcast. 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 Welcome to the Poundcast.
Well, Brent, that's another Poundcast remix from our Patreon subscribers. This one's coming in from Bob Bell. Thank you for sending in this remix, which we will play in its entirety at the end of the episode.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
And once again, welcome to the Poundcast.
And for everyone else, welcome to the Poundcast. I mean, here we are again, Brent.
Here we are. Once again, week after
week after
without
week.
fail.
And if you want to be like Bob and support the Poundcast and get access to the stems of the Poundcast theme, plus other perks, just go to patreon.com/Poundcast. And, besides supporting us and feeling great about that, you get access to longer Poundcast episodes. So every
Sometimes twice as long.
Yeah, some of them are twice as long. Every Poundcast, we hit stop at a certain point, but then we keep going for an extra extended episode. And that's only available for the Poundcast Patreon pimples. And if you want to be a pimple, you just go to patreon.com/Poundcast for that. And if you want to support me, that's Doug. You go to patreon.com/DougPound with 2 G's. And every day I do a little nature blog. I'm looking for squirrels. It's the Squirrel Report. And the only way to get access to the Squirrel Report and unreleased music and exclusive videos, things like that, patreon.com/DougPound. One other piece of business.
This episode is brought to you by Louisville Vegan Foods.
Well, before that,
okay.
I just like to, I still have the Ask to Dad shirts. I got short sleeve, I got long sleeve. Just Ask to Dad. Also, there's Poundcast t-shirts. I got pins. I got Doug Pound pins. I got a couple tapes left. I got some CDs. The Poundhouse pins aren't out yet, but those are coming from Rockin' Pins. My pins are from Rockin' Pins as well. I'll show you one. You can wear this on your denim jacket while you're staying at home and not seeing anybody. But all my merch is at a reasonable price. It's at a rock bottom price. DougPound.BigCartel.com. 2 G's on all the Doug Pound sites. And Brent, before we get started with Jed, just want to know how you've been, man. I mean, what have you been up to?
Oh, as for me?
Yeah.
I've been cool. My sister was visiting.
You got a nice haircut, I see. That looks beautiful.
Yeah, my sister cut my hair as well as I did some trims as well. And it was a collaborative effort. But
I would love to cut your hair sometime. I cut Tim's hair last week, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I don't know if I trust being around you boys, You guys are in that room with all these other boys,
Just give me a shot. Maybe
no,
when
I don't.
Maybe when COVID's over, let me shave it.
Okay, once COVID is over, maybe I'll get you on that shave.
All right.
What about, can I cut your hair? I'm not talking about the hair on
my
your
hair.
head.
My hair's kind of looking like, my hair's looking long and shaggy, but I kind of like it.
You a wild boy, huh?
It's kind of like, where's the part supposed to be here? By the way, if you're only listening to the
Audio.
the podcast, the audio version. There is a video version of this now on YouTube. So look up the Poundcast on YouTube, and you can watch us on Zoom talk to each other, and hopefully no spooky stuff will happen, because I just saw a movie called Host, and it's takes place during the quarantine on Zoom, and we're going to get to him in a minute. But Brent, I just wanted to let you know that
We're going to get to him, like, as if
before we get to Jed,
the
the writer and executive producer, one of the writers and executive producers of Host. I just wanted to let you know, Brent, that some spooky stuff happened to me when I was in Sedona. We were hiking with some friends, and there's these different vortexes that they have in Sedona. And I was deep in a vortex hiking, and this body just flew right in front of me, landed right in the trail. He was one of those free solo guys, and his leg was just broken in half, and he fell right in front of me. And I was like, what the heck? I guess I got to help this guy.
Yeah.
He said, please help me. And I was like, all right, fine, I'll help you. Geez, you shouldn't be up there without ropes climbing out free solo like this. His bone was sticking straight out. It was a gruesome scene, Brent. And I said, man, I don't know how I can help you right now. I was snacking on my Louisville vegan jerky. And he's like, I'm in such pain. But he goes, but what's that? And I'm like, you mean my Carolina barbecue? This is just my Louisville vegan jerky. He's like, where can I get that? Whole Foods, Sprouts, several different outlets. I'm like, but if you don't, it looks like you're going to be laid up for a while. Maybe you can go to LouisvilleVeganFoods.com and use the code word Poundcast and get 20% off. And he's like, I'm going to have some medical bills coming up, so I could use that 20% off. What's that code word again? Or what's that website again? I said, LouisvilleVeganFoods.com. Use the code word Poundcast. And he's like, let me see that bag. And he grabbed the bag from me, Brent. And he was able to put it on his wound and cauterize the wound. And then he took some of the jerky and used it as kind of a weird Band-Aid. And the dude got up and he was like, you know what? I'm fine. And he's like, thanks, man. I just gave him the bag because, when I went to LouisvilleVeganFoods.com, I got several bags. I got all these different flavors. Perfect pepperoni, I got the bacon flavor.
You could stock up because it was going to last you at least 9 months anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I stocked up because
the shelf life was 9 months.
Exactly. It's got a 9-month shelf life. The dude was fine. It was crazy. I mean, I don't recommend using it if you ever get hurt like that. Just see a doctor. Or
you should probably see a doctor, but that jerky is handbagged in the United States of America.
The jerky's handbagged. You can't go wrong. You can't go wrong by supporting our sponsor, Louisville Vegan Foods. So
go to LouisvilleVeganFoods.com and have a blast and start breaking those bones.
Yeah, climb up some mountains, and you don't need rope because when you fall, you'll be fine. All right, Brent, let's get our guest on here, huh?
Please do.
Now, Jed reached out to me. He's a pound pimple, and he said, "Hey, we have I made this film, and we have 100% on Rotten Tomatoes right now, and everyone's talking about it." I said, "Oh yeah, send me the link." He sent me a link. Brent, you watched it too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is quite hair-raising. This is quite a thrill ride. This is a fun movie. Let's get him on.
This is the writer and the producer, one of the writers, one of the producers. We're going to bring him out, and then I'm sure we'll have tons of questions. The movie is Host. This is Jed Shepherd, and bringing him in right now.
Let's get him on here. Oh, hey, Jed.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Yeah.
Where
all right.
are you? Are you downtown LA right now?
No,
I
he's in
am.
Wilshire.
This background is a still from the 1984 horror film called Night of the Comet, set in LA. I don't know if you've seen it. It's about a comet that passes over Earth. Everyone dies besides these two valley girls, and they kind of fight zombies and go shopping. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't know that movie, but I know that street. That's Wilshire Boulevard, and
Yeah.
that's El Rey, which I've been to many times.
Yeah, it's not a cinema anymore, is it? It's like a music venue,
It's music. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
unfortunately.
And actually, I did a comedy show there once.
Oh, nice.
So, Jed, is that
Jed,
short
welcome
for,
to-
real quick? Is that welcome to the show?
Thank you very much, guys.
What's
Jed's not short for anything. It's
It's
Jed.
not like Jedediah or something.
My mum's quite religious, to be fair, so maybe it is from the Bible, but
But isn't
no, it's just Jed.
isn't Jedediah? Isn't it Jebediah?
Jedediah is from the Bible as well, I think.
I
Oh,
think
okay.
there's
No, I'm
both.
talking about Jebediah.
No, there's both.
There's
Oh,
both,
okay.
I think. Yeah, my mum's Filipino.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, that's why she's so Catholic and
Yeah,
into
yeah,
the Bible
yeah.
and
Oh,
stuff.
that's cool. You and Brent are half Filipinos, huh?
Halfies, I think. Yeah.
Also, yeah,
Harvey
my mom
boys.
was raised Catholic too. You know,
Nice. Yeah, not my kind of thing. now,
because my name is short for Brentediah.
but-
No, I'm
I
just
like
kidding.
it.
So, Jed, where are you now? Where are you zooming from?
I'm in London town. It is the hottest day of the year. It's about 35 degrees Celsius, which is really hot for London. And we're not designed. We don't have the infrastructure for warm weather, so it's just boiling. Nobody has AC. No shops have AC. Public transport has no AC. It's unbelievable. It's ridiculous here.
How do you cool down? Do you go to that? When I was in London once, I was there in the summer, and we there was a swimming hole. You know what I'm talking about? There's some ponds you can swim in.
There's Lidos. There's like these outdoor pools called Lidos that I think it's just full of like baby nappies and tramp piss. But yeah, it's kind of cool in the summer.
No, it was a different.
There's ponds everywhere. Yeah.
I mean, this was like a designated swimming area.
Okay.
Anyway,
Well,
It
look,
wasn't great.
anyway,
it was
I know it's
murky.
now look. First of all,
Mhm.
congratulations on the movie
Cool, man. Thank you.
Host. You know, we both watched it,
Nice.
and I mean, it's really impressive. I mean, for people who don't know, Host is the movie, and the movie was made completely within the lockdown or quarantine restrictions. Is that right?
It was, yeah. In
And
the space of
the
12
movie was
weeks.
produced and directed and everything all remotely. Everybody involved was in their own space doing it. And you made this movie in the last few months or something?
In the last 12 weeks, yeah.
In the last 12 weeks, they made this movie. It's a feature-length film. I mean, it's about an hour.
Mhm.
And I mean, that's just really impressive and inspiring
Thank
to
you,
make a
man. Yeah.
movie this way, a whole feature film this way.
And you really jumped on the opportunity because like it's so of the moment, you know.
Yeah.
How did this come
Cool
about?
start.
Like, whose idea was it? Like, how did this happen?
Yeah, so right at the start of lockdown, me and my friends, we started a WhatsApp group called the Quarantine Movie Club, which was just watching movies every day with our friends on Netflix party. And it got about 5-6 weeks in and we'd run out of things to watch. We were just watching Waterworld like over and over again by the end of it. So my friend Rob Savage, who directed Host, he calls me up and says, look, I'm going to play a prank on our friends. I'm going to pretend that I've died and you've just got to play along. And I'm like, okay, cool. So we invite all of our friends onto a Zoom call and he says, oh, there's something in my attic. I think there's a guy living in my attic. And everyone's like, okay, well, show us. Like, let's go there now. And like, while we're on Zoom, let's just see what's going on. And we rigged up basically a laptop screen waiting next to the ladder going up to the attic. so he could carefully put his phone, where he was on Zoom on his phone, carefully put it in front of the laptop so it looks like it was live. So we see him going up the ladder, and then he cuts it with his hand and puts it in front of a laptop, and it looks like it's going up into the attic, and a kind of zombie boy jumping out, and then it cuts back to him falling down the ladder on the floor like dead, and he did it so well, and our friends were screaming, crying, trying to call him, and I was cracking up, and so we recorded it, like it was literally 2 minutes long, and we put it online, and yeah, it got 7 million views in like 3 or 4 days, and we were like, how? Because we'd made short films for the last 5-6 years that had various different levels of success, but nothing had ever been seen that much. So we were like, oh wow. So we were getting the thrill of like making something that everyone's seen. You kind of get the high, and you want to like chase that high. So me and him were thinking, we need to just film ourselves on fire. We just need to set ourselves on fire and film it, and then put it online and see if that goes viral as well. We were really trying to chase the high. But because we've made horror films before, we decided to kind of put it into all of our ideas into a horror film. And after that weird viral video kind of got seen by so many people, we got offers from literally everybody to make into a longer form. And you'd be surprised, because it's a 2-minute stupid video, and we've never had so many offers from big places. And the one that we took is from Shudder, because I love Shudder, we love Shudder, and they pretty much said that we can do what we want. But we didn't have an idea for a longer film. So Rob said to me, okay, think of something, and then tomorrow we'll pitch whatever like we come up with. So I was racking my brains all night, and like 4:30 in the morning, I'm usually up at that time, I just texted him 2 words, Zoom seance, and then I went to sleep. And then in the morning, he was like, cool, I'm pitching this to Shudder now. And he pitched it to Shudder. He told them, we've only got 2 words. It's a Zoom seance. We're going to use all of our friends, and just leave us alone and trust us. And they were like, cool, here's the money, make it. And that's it. And we did it. And that was 12 weeks ago. And yeah, and of course, we didn't know how to make a film in lockdown with social distancing rules and stuff. But luckily, in that quarantine movie club, our WhatsApp group, all of our friends are either actors, producers, stunt people, VFX people. So we literally used every single person that's in that quarantine movie club WhatsApp group, which was like 20 people, and yeah, and then we just started making it. Yeah, that's it. That's how we kind of started it anyway.
So what did you? So they gave you the budget, Shudder did.
Yeah.
And are you allowed to say kind of what the budget was? I mean, no pressure if you don't want to say.
I'm probably not allowed to, but it was a fraction of what you would normally get for a film. It's probably the amount you would get for a YouTube video advertising for a decent like channel, maybe. It's not. It wasn't a lot. It was 5 figures.
And what was the
in pounds or US?
In US.
So okay, so like I understand that you guys had workshops for the actors to be able to learn how to do, or you had effects people do Zoom workshops with the actors so that they could do the effects themselves.
Yeah. So what we did is we just used everyone you see in the prank video, which is 2 minutes. We used everyone there. So there were these 5 girls, and none of them are horror fans as well. So we had to first of all teach them what a found footage horror movie was and all the tropes. So we just gave them homework. We did Netflix parties to watch like Paranormal Activity 3 and stuff like that, just so they know how horror films work. And then we did a real life seance beforehand. Before we did anything, we set up a real seance with a real medium on Zoom. And I think that's probably the first ever Zoom seance as well.
Wait, was it the medium the woman who's in the movie?
No, the woman who's in the movie she actually plays Doctor Who's mum in Doctor Who, but because the girls don't watch Doctor Who, they didn't know, so it worked out quite well. But I'll come on to that because that's quite an interesting story. But we got a real meeting beforehand to do a real seance, and just to see how the girls interact within the seance as well, because we have no idea how a Zoom seance would work, so we had to learn ourselves. So the medium comes in, she tells us like what may happen and how to fix it if something goes wrong, and she really like kind of hammed it up and like spooked the girls. And these girls are they get scared of their own shadow, these girls, because they don't watch horror. They're very susceptible to like supernatural stuff and their own shadows, really. The loveliest people in the world, but they are very, very scared. And so we basically just watched them do the seance. And Gemma, who is the Asian-looking one in Host, something happened to her in real life, in the real seance, and we have all of this recorded as well. So I'm not a believer in the supernatural, by the way, but something happened on her screen while we were watching. She said she felt something touch her, and we were like, right, sure. And then something flew off her shelf for real, and we've got it recorded on video. And we were like,
Really?
no way. Yeah, we've got it recorded. Flies off her shelf. She starts screaming and like hyperventilating and shaking. And then yeah, so we were like, oh my god, this is absolute gold. Like we've actually like we've got proof of the supernatural almost. And then so afterwards I kind of sat down with Rob on Zoom, and I was like, Rob, do you think she made that up? Do you think she engineered that situation just so her part would be bigger in the film, because she knows it's kind of like a mini audition for her what her character is going to be like. So I'm still not sure to this day if she made that up and she just used fishing wire to pull the book off her shelf. So we used that for the real film. We made her the mischievous one in the film, and we made it that she lies about spooky stuff happening, and that's what causes all of the chaos and releases the demon.
That's
Wow.
awesome.
That's interesting. You
So
didn't ask her?
she doesn't say, or does she claim it was real, or
She claims it's real, yeah.
what exactly happened? So she just like it happened in the movie, she felt somebody touch her, and then something like, how did it fly off the shelf? Like completely like crazy
Genuinely,
thing, not just slid down. It was like flew off.
so it actually happens really similar to how it does in the film. We basically copied it. So Haley at first, she said she felt something, and then Gemma straight away, oh, I know I feel something. Almost like Gemma was trying to take away Haley's like thunder a little bit, and then it happened, and all we saw behind her was something kind of go past her and then land on the floor like behind her. So something was jolted off the shelf.
Does she live with anybody, Gemma?
Yeah, she does. She lives with her boyfriend.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and she's
Okay.
extremely
I was just curious if
clever
there's
as well.
someone else possibly in there that could have helped, you know.
Yeah, no, they definitely could have been. So we
Is she
use
a
that to our
mischievous?
advantage.
Is she mischievous normally? Does she kind of make stuff up usually?
She doesn't know. No, she doesn't make stuff up, but she's obviously an actor, and an actor's job is to lie, lie on camera. So, but she is quite mischievous, and she's like fun and stuff. She isn't like her character in Host really, like, because everyone gets on really well. We've all been friends for years and years and years, so there isn't any tension in the group at all. So yeah.
I have a question about the stunts. Like,
Yeah.
so everyone really did those by themselves?
Yeah.
Because
So,
there's, I mean, I'm trying not to give anything away,
no,
but there's some
you can
stunts
give it away.
where, well,
Give it
just
away,
I want the listeners to see the film.
Well, I think that they had partners. Most of them had like people living with them, like one person living with them that helped them do those stunts, I think, right?
Yeah, that helped a lot. So the first thing we did was we sent them fishing wire, and we taught them the old school like Hollywood techniques from like the 50s and the 60s, which was you just tie fishing wire to anything, pull it, and it doesn't get caught on camera. I don't know if it's the frame rate or whatever, but you can't really see fishing wire on a Zoom camera. And we got these things built, these pneumatic machines, and you put them into cupboards, and you press a button, and all the cupboards fly open. So it's just we just made these things, this remote control cupboard exploders basically, and you see that a couple of times. Yeah, and like you see one girl, Haley, getting her chair being pulled away and her getting pulled away. That's literally her boyfriend tying a rope around her waist and pulling her. That is low fi as that.
So there were was there quite a bit of digital effects as well to, maybe take out some,
Yeah.
obvious seams, like ropes and things like that or whatever?
Yeah, there was. So the very first thing me and Rob did was speak to the stunt guys and VFX guys to say that this is our list of kills and crazy scares. Is this possible on this budget? And they were like, no. But then we said, well, you've got to do it anyway. So that's what we did. And all the stunt guys are just our mates. Luckily, they're just really, really good at what they do. And I think the two most impressive stunts is the one where the Ginny gets flown up into the air above the pool, so there's nothing around her.
Yeah, I didn't even want to bring
I mean,
that up.
I hope we're not like spoiling it for people.
Yeah, okay, I'll be a little bit more ambiguous, but yeah,
Okay.
that particular thing is something I've wanted to do in a film for like a long time. So we managed to do it, and we did it in one camera move, and there's no cuts. You see her on the edge of the pool, and she flies up to the middle of the pool, wriggle around, and then you see her death. And that was done very lo-fi as well, even though it looks really impressive. That was just a rig that was set up by the stunt guys, and it's pitch black out there anyway, so you can't really see the seams. But yeah, VFX had to paint out a few stuff. But the most impressive thing is the fire thing, which I won't say too much about, because that's really him. That's not CGI. That's not a double or anything. That's really him and the fire.
That is impressive, because that looks. Yeah, I mean, everyone should just watch the movie and then listen to this episode. But
did you would send a lot of materials to everybody, I guess, to work with, I guess, right? It was just a lot of packages, sending out all the packages and stuff.
Yeah. So they would get. What do you mean, like props and things like that?
Well, yeah, like I guess material that burns or whatever, that's not going to burn the person or whatever, and stuff like that.
Well, actually, Teddy is the only one who wasn't a friend from the start. Because we needed someone who was good with fire, we found someone who's a stunt guy and an actor, and who lived in that really lush house with like a pool and just massive like land. He got really lucky.
Does stunts normally.
Yeah, he's on Vikings, on the show Vikings, and I think he did Game of Thrones as well. So yeah, he's really good, and luckily he can act as well. Yeah.
Oh,
wow. Pretty impressive.
So was the post process how long did it take to shoot the movie?
So only about 2 weeks. So the writing process was probably 2 weeks, and then.
And you wrote the movie with Rob and one other person.
Wrote with Rob and Gemma Hurley. So me and Rob collaborate on a bunch of things, but because me and Rob were so close to this group of girls, we needed an outside perspective, because we don't want to bring our biases into it and ruin the movie, and like maybe like highlight one character that we favorite a little bit more. So we needed an outside perspective to kind of tell us, no, this person's better at this person's better at this kill is better for this person because of this reason. So we brought in Gemma, who she writes TV shows, for horror shows for like Netflix and things like that. And so we just drafted together our kind of like Avengers, and how we kind of wrote it, very similar to how the Blair Witch did it, which was you don't have a full script. We had a 17-page beat sheet, which is what the Blair Witch did, and it's just like go from A to B, do whatever you want in the middle, but you just need to get to B. And we just did multiple takes till it sounded good. And because they're all friends and they're all using their real names, that was big for us. To keep authenticity, you need to use your real names. You need to have real conversations, and just to keep it like real. And yeah, so a lot of it is improv. Most of the best lines I can't take credit for. It's the girls like happy spookies, which is the hashtag that was trending like a couple of days ago. That was just from Emma, just not knowing really what to say instead of cheer, so she just said happy spookies, and like now that's going to be on t-shirts and stuff. And yeah, so it was like the easiest process ever. And I know people think that maybe doing it in lockdown with all these restrictions would be hard, but it's actually easier because we didn't have any interference from anyone else. We could just use our friends. And I think if it wasn't for lockdown, we'd probably have to cast people, and we'd have to use more external people. But the fact that the lockdown happened was kind of beneficial to us. And actually, this wouldn't even have happened if it wasn't for lockdown as well. So even though it's a terrible thing, it's kind of good for this particular movie.
Did
Also,
you when you filmed it did you film it on Zoom?
So this is a secret that we don't normally tell people, but I'll tell you because I listen to your podcast every week. So I'm going to give you guys the nuggets, the gems.
Oh, the exclusive insights.
Yeah.
I like it.
Okay, this is a Poundcast exclusive.
This
Come
is
on.
exclusive.
So no, not a single thing you see on screen is actually on Zoom. Not a
Really?
single thing. So what we did was we spoke to Zoom beforehand, not thinking they would even give us the time of day, and they were like, "Yeah, this sounds great. Like you can have whatever you want." And they sent us all of their assets, all of their graphical user interface, so we could just use it any way we want and apply it to like the footage. And they gave us a few little things that you don't normally see, like behind the scenes, like things that you don't normally see on Zoom. And we had to, this is really lo-fi now, we sent everyone like the newest iPhones, and we velcroed iPhones to the back of their laptops. And so we had Zoom open just for reference, and just so the girls could see the other girls, but we took all the footage from the iPhones that are on top of their computers. And that's why in all of Emma's scenes, she's almost like cut off like that, because she didn't get the level of the iPhone right on her screen. So she's like that the entire time. But it just looks cool. And like,
I remember watching that and thinking like, what a good choice, because I do Zoom stuff all the time.
yeah.
And so many people, like I was making fun of people on office hours last week because half of them are like, you know, they don't get the framing right. Somehow they're always like off to the side. And I thought that was a
Yeah.
cool choice because it's just very realistic. But
It's so funny because I'm reading articles about how that was such a bold cinematic choice from Rob Savage. Like just because there's a scene where you just see a triangle.
I love that
of
shot
Emma.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a giallo movie, and like everyone's like, how did you get that shot? How did you think of that shot? And it was literally because Emma like messed up her positioning of the camera. That's it, and it's become the iconic shot, and it's on the poster.
Yeah, I watched the movie. I was with my sister and her husband, and we you know, that shot in particular with the eye, you know, we were, you know, that got pointed out like, oh, that's a shot, you know. Oh, there's a shot right
That's
there.
a shot. Yeah.
That's a
That is
shot.
a shot.
But my question, I guess, my follow-up question is, they're all doing their lines together, right? It's not like they say their lines and then you paste them together. Like they're all in sync, like really kind of chatting and,
yeah,
you know,
they're
acting.
all in. Yeah, they're all in real zooms. And what we did was we filmed all of the deaths first. So when they're on Zoom, we play in the deaths on screen live. So when you see their reactions to their friends dying, because we redacted the script as well after their death, so they didn't know how each other was going to die. So when they see the deaths on screen, that's a real reaction. When Emma is watching Teddy die and her acting is incredible, it's because she thinks it's real. It's because it's the first time she's ever seen it. And she didn't think it was possible for us to do that sequence of stunts of the going up in the air and then him going into the barn with the music box and the fire. She didn't think it was possible, so she was just assuming it was real. So her reaction was, she was like banging her laptop, screaming, crying, and she'll probably win an award for that. But that was her real reaction. Like it's crazy, and we did that to everyone. We just like scared the living daylights out of everyone for real.
But if you wanted a certain line or something, you would just cut to a close up or just a single shot of the person. I imagine if you wanted to put something in that you felt was pertinent or whatever, so there were a lot of pickups.
Yeah, so we did so it was 2 weeks of main filming, and then it's probably like another week of pickups and ADR. And you're right, it's single shots. Some of them were like group grid shots as well, but yeah, we did ADR as well. But we did ADR up until 2 days before it landed on Shudder. It landed on Shudder on Thursday, the 30th of July. We only had it in on the 28th of July because we were still editing it, and doing ADR on that day. So it was really, really close. It was
Wow, you were
crazy.
still getting footage and stuff on the 28th of July,
Yeah,
and the movie
and it
came out what day?
30th of July.
No
Yeah.
That's
way.
crazy. Wow.
Yeah, I know. I mean, Shudder probably were like, "Oh my god, what have we let ourselves in for?" Like,
Well, they were
because if
shuddering.
you-
Was there
Yeah,
like a
they-
trailer and like did people know this was coming out? Like, no?
No, like we didn't have a trailer or a poster. We were so like low key. Like, I mean, it got announced on Deadline like a month ago, and straight away people were like, "I'm not going to watch a Zoom movie. Why am I going to watch a Zoom movie? This is crap." And when it went onto all the horror sites that the Zoom movie was coming out, everyone was like, "This is going to be terrible. This is going to be awful. I'm not watching this." And I was like, "Bring it on, bring it on." We need them to go in with as low expectations as possible, so we can blow them away, because they'll never be expecting what we're going to throw at them. So I love it. I loved all the hate, and then
I wonder why there
when
was. I wonder
just
why there was so
because-
much, kind of negative expectation, because there is some precedent a little bit. I mean, there's those
Yeah.
Unfriended movies, and the Paranormal Activity movies are kind of in the same vein a little bit. But
Yeah,
I
the
don't know why.
Unfriended movies. I like the Unfriended movies. I think it's just because people just think it's like anyone can do it, or they think it's just a cheap way to do it, and there's no expectations for a Zoom movie. And also people have been on Zoom all lockdown as well. Like, they probably thought they didn't want to see any more of Zoom as entertainment. But yeah, so our expectation for when it came out was very, very low. We were like at least we like it. That's what we thought. At least we like it. Our friends are gonna like it. We had no idea what was coming at all. It's been crazy.
How do people watch it?
How do people watch it?
Yeah, I mean, just for the listeners to
Oh, right, yeah.
like, where's it available?
So it's available on Shudder in the USA, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and the UK. And you can either use the Shudder app, go to shudder.com, or on Amazon Prime, you go to the Shudder channel and it's there. And it's going to be in the other territories as well, and go to VOD and hopefully physical media. Well, I know there's physical media, but we just haven't announced it yet. So yeah, so it's going to, for the rest of the year, it's going to kind of drip out into other places and hopefully get as good of a reaction as it has on Shudder.
So what did you guys do before you had this opportunity? Were you just making little shorts, like you said earlier? Like, do you guys have is this your main gig, or what were you doing before this?
So I'm doing a film with Sam Raimi, and that was announced 3 weeks ago, I think. And because Sam Raimi is my favorite director, Evil Dead 2 is one of my favorite films of all time. And yeah, so me and Rob are making this crazy horror movie with him, which is literally a dream come true. So we've been,
I'm sorry, what are your roles in the movie? I mean, Sam Raimi's directing it, or?
Sam Raimi's producing it, and it's Raimi Productions that are producing it. And I think my official title is story by and executive producer, which is kind of, to be an executive producer on a big Hollywood Sam Raimi movie is ridiculous. So but literally a dream come true. Like,
Did that happen because of Host?
No. We kind of, people think it is, but no, we've had it for a while. It only got announced because Host was announced, and then 2 days later, Raimi announced the film that we're doing with him. Just
how did you make your way in the film business?
So, very first thing I did, and you're going to laugh at this. So, do you know that film Birdemic? You're aware of Birdemic, right?
Yeah.
So I was a fan of Birdemic, and when that came out, I wrote to all the actors, everyone who made it, and I was like, "Hey, I'm Jed from the UK. I know nothing about how to be in movies, but I'm going to help you make Birdemic 2. No answer. Hey, just a follow up. My name's Jed. I'm from the UK. I want to help you make Birdemic 2. No answer. And then I was like, right, okay, I need to figure out a better way to do this. And I was like, look, I'll get your film in every single cinema you want to in Europe. And I had no idea how to do that. I was making it up. And I'll do this, I'll get distribution in this region. And this is stuff I just Googled, like what people are meant to do when they're like producing a movie. And and then I got an answer from the guy who was about to produce the sequel, and was like, "Can you really do this?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course I can. Of course I can do this." And he was like, "Okay, cool. What do you want your role to be?" And I was like, "I want to be co-producer." And he was like, "Okay, if you can do all this, you can be co-producer on Birdemic 2." And I was like, "Okay." And then I had to like do a lot of Googling, like calling up loads of like random French cinemas, like, "Look, like Birdemic was a big hit. Like, this is probably going to be a film. Would you mind showing it?" And so I somehow got Birdemic 2 into like every cinema in like Europe, got it into a bunch of festivals in Europe, and I have no idea. And I flew the cast out to the UK, got a festival to pay for it, and we showed it. And like that was my very first kind of thing. That was like 7 years ago. And then, I mean, you guys probably know some of the cast. I'm guessing you probably know Whitney Moore, maybe.
I don't
From
know. I
Birdemic?
don't.
Oh, okay.
Who else is in it?
Eric Barr. I mean, there's no one big in it, but like Whitney Moore is kind of on the LA scene. She's a really good actress, and she presents her DC thing, and she's cool.
So how did you real quick? How did you do that? How did you pull that off?
He Googled, he said.
I mean,
Google, but
besides
I'm
Googling, like what were the results of the Googling? You know, like what did you do?
So it was basically saying how to deal with like percentages and things like that, in terms of if you get into a cinema, how much percentage is meant to go back. Cinema is meant to take, and how much would go back to production, and just stuff like that. And then I worked out a figure of how much I could potentially make for them if they let me do it as well. So I gave them a real ballpark figure, which we got, which was good. And then I just kind of like got them into a couple of like low key festivals, and they were on board. And yeah, I'm just really good at like convincing people to let me do things. Like, I think it might be my British accent, even though it's not the greatest British accent, but so yeah, so that was the very, very first thing. And then I saw Rob, a 1 minute comedy short that Rob did, and there was nothing else that he'd ever done online. And I saw it on Twitter, and I emailed him and was like, "Hey Rob, like you don't know me. This is my one line. You don't know me, but we should like make a film together." And he was like, "Are you into horror?" And like, "Yeah, that's my thing," and it really was. So like we met up like about a week later, and I pitched him an idea for a film called Dawn of the Deaf, and he was like, "Whoa!" And yeah, and the film is about a group of well, it's basically a group of deaf people who survive an apocalypse because a sound kills everybody on Earth, and only the deaf people survive. And the whole thing is subtitles. And we couldn't get that made for love nor money, because people are like, we don't want to watch deaf people on screen. We don't want to read while we're watching the film. But we wanted to make that into a feature first, but we made it into a short, and that short got into 300 festivals around the world. It got into Sundance. It won a bunch of awards, and that's the thing that got us noticed. And it stars 3 of the girls from Host as well, because we always just use the same cast and crew. And then after that, we were like, "Oh wow, okay, so we know what we're doing now." And then we got given. Then Fox calls us up and said, "And this is a weird story, and I've never told this before again, but I'll tell you guys." So Fox call us up and they say, "Hey, we loved Dawn of the Deaf. Can you make us a short for Halloween to go in the advert break of American Horror Story on Halloween?" And we were like, "Yeah, that sounds amazing. Of course we can." And they said it has to be like 3.5 minutes long, so it can fit in the advert break. Cool, sounds good. So they gave us a bunch of money to make it, and we made this film called Salt, which stars Alice Lowe, who's in like Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, which is a British like comedy.
I love Garth Marenghi's Dark Place.
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
Wait,
It's
she was
so
in
good.
that? She was in that show?
She's the woman. She's the lady.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, the blonde lady in it.
Uh-huh.
So she stars in Salt, and that's about a woman who every night has to do a salt circle around her bed to protect her kid from this demon that comes every single night. And it started off for 3.5 minutes long, and then Fox were like, "Oh, can you make it 3 minutes?" And we were like, "Okay, cool, we'll make it 3 minutes." And they said, "Can you make it 2.5 minutes? Because we want to put a Coke advert at the front and the back." Like, okay. And then by the time we handed it into them, it was 2 minutes long. But it was the best thing for it ever. It just made it so tight, and we cut out all the fat. It was a 2-minute short, and it got to Halloween, and we emailed Fox, and I might get in trouble for saying this, but I don't care. I mean, hey, when's it going to be on Fox? Like, what time exactly during American Horror Story? No answer. And we told everyone up until this point it was going to come out. We told everyone, and they just ignored us. And then finally, when it was too late, they said, "Oh yeah, we've had second thoughts." And we were like, "Oh wow, okay." And we didn't really know why, and we were just so disappointed. But it in fact worked out for the best, because we put it out ourselves quite about 8 months later. We asked them if we could put it out ourselves, and they luckily, thankfully said yes. So we put it into a bunch of film festivals again. We did like London Film Festival and Sitges and all that stuff. And then we got offers from Hollywood. We got pretty much every studio in Hollywood offered us money to make the feature-length version of Salt. So we went out there. We did the whole Hollywood thing for a couple of weeks, and just going from meeting to meeting to meeting until we found. And again, we haven't announced the Salt film, so I'm a bit saying too much, but it's going to be announced in the future. But yeah, we found a place where we like it, and that will come out at some point, which is great.
Okay,
but then
wow.
that's how Sam Raimi found us. He really, really liked Salt, and he really, really liked Dawn of the Deaf, and he said, "Do you have anything else?" And I said, well, at that point we didn't actually. So me and Rob, within 24 hours, had to come up with something. So we were like back and forth. Okay, we've got this crazy idea. It's one of the best ideas we've ever come up with. See if Sam likes it. We pitched it to Sam, and it's the first time he's ever said yes in the room before. We didn't have to like go away and come back. He said yes in the room. Let's make this. So yeah, we've been spending like months kind of like developing it, and in the last couple of weeks we've been doing table reads with Sam Raimi, and just to see him like just talking about the stuff that we've created, and like, because we've been playing all the parts in this, because we haven't cast it, we've been playing all the parts in it. So just now, well, 2 days ago, I was playing one character and Sam Raimi was playing my girlfriend. It's the craziest thing of all time. It was so funny. And was
he in the room?
great.
Is he in London with you?
No, it's from LA. He was in LA.
So it's like a Zoom room.
Yeah, it was a Zoom. Everything is like Zoom now. Yeah. Zoom table read. But it's the most fun ever. He just hasn't changed. He's the most enthusiastic, clever person. And just when you think you have like a real cool set piece like worked out, he'll suggest something that makes it 100 times better. He is so like unbelievably good, and that's obviously why he is who he is. Like it's like a masterclass, like a live masterclass, basically. Yeah.
That's wow. I mean, that's cool. I mean, that you get to do that. I mean, that's awesome. Yeah. I have a question of going back to host.
Yeah.
Unless Doug, did you want to stay on this line of talk?
You can go back to host, but I got more questions. I just hope I don't forget them.
Right. Well, my question about host was, I think probably making a movie in quarantine and over Zoom, you're probably not as picky as you might be about, a regular movie, right? But considering that, was there anything that you were unhappy with, or are you really just happy with everything, how it turned out, and especially because it was made in Zoom? Yeah.
I think it's turned out better than we could have made it if we had all of the options open to us. It's like that Dogma 95 movement that those Europeans made up. Like, the restrictions is what's made it good, because the fact we got to use our friends without any questions has just made it better and made it more authentic. And we had the beauty of like hardly anyone's working. So if we needed like 5 VFX guys, they're all available. They're not doing anything. So we could just go, hey, do you want to like quickly like do this and then put this behind this person and stuff like that. We've put in so many Easter eggs into host, like, that people are slowly discovering all the stuff we put into.
I was wondering that when I was watching it. I was like kind of looking in the back in certain of the boxes, like,
yeah,
is there stuff that I should be like scanning and seeing? So there is, huh?
Yeah,
I didn't really
I noticed something too, actually. I didn't
Yeah.
fully explore it, but I thought, oh, that looks like a it looks like a code or something, or it looks like something that is you could use for somehow else.
Yeah.
I don't want to say right now because
there are codes.
Maybe privately, I'll
How about
tell you what I
after dark? We can
after dark. We'll tell you
Okay.
everything. Yeah.
Okay.
No, so there's nothing that you would have done differently, or there's nothing that you thought, I wish if we had more time or whatever, or anything like that. There's nothing you felt that way about it.
I think if we had more time, we would just spend more time editing, and I'm sure Doug would attest to this, that the deadlines are like a really good thing, because if you didn't have a deadline, you probably wouldn't do it, or you'd wait till the last minute. And because we had this fixed deadline, because we'd already announced it was going to be out on the 30th, it was like all hands on deck. Like, 2 days before, I had to go frame by frame and look at it to make sure there was no mistakes. And literally 2 days before, or maybe 3 days before, I found 26 errors. And I sent it to the producer and was like, I found this. We need to fix this before it comes out. And there's 26 different things that were.
What were the errors? What's some examples?
Just the girls' names in the wrong place. Like Emma was Gemma, or Gemma was Emma, or the boxes weren't sized properly. Or but one thing to do, like the storyline, there was one where when the mask, you see the mask floating and then the mask turns. That didn't really like sell as well as it did in the final product, because you still had the girls like screaming about Caroline dying. So we kind of spaced that out a little bit. We had a little bit of space. So it's just things like that, little beats.
This podcast just totally like spoils the movie.
Yeah,
I mean, it's still worth watching for sure, even if you are listening to this, because
look,
it's just a fun ride. It's an hour long. How long is it?
It's an hour, 56 minutes, right?
56 minutes.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a fun ride. I recommend it.
Look, it's a horror movie.
Yeah.
Some people are going to die. You don't know who. So
exactly.
We'll leave it at that, right? I mean,
and it's currently 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and the number one watched film on Letterboxd as well in the world. The number one watched film in the world right now on Letterboxd. And it's crazy because
so you had a graphics person completely recreate a Zoom interface, and also just even the pre-Zoom stuff or whatever, all just the whole
everything
computer interface. It's all like somebody graphics person.
Yeah. Cool. We had to get it all done, and it was those poor guys who had to do that, because it's crazy like hours they had to do in that.
It seems
and to
really
know that we had and to know that we had a deadline like when it was out, because we'd announced it in the press, like it was quite hard.
Yeah, I would like to say that I love the ending, and we won't spoil the ending, but the ending is just so perfect, and then the way the credits come up is like you're just kind of sitting there like, oh shit, and then like well done. That was awesome.
Cheers, man. Thank you.
By the way,
so cool.
This is not a spoil because it's in the beginning of the movie. But so the two girls, do they live like adjacent to each other? Or they live in the.
They really live next.
They live downstairs from each other or something.
Well, I like how you set that up, because you see her outside and she's like, "Get on the Zoom," because that informs the thing that happens later where.
100%.
You know what I'm saying?
They live on the same road.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because we have to foreshadow everything, like in a good horror. Yeah, and you can't kill someone in a good horror film unless it's like a callback to something earlier on. Like, say for instance, actually, I'll tell you in the After Dark thing. This information's too hot for TV. I'll tell you in the After Dark about the specifiquics of what.
Okay, well, here's a question. Here's a general question. Brent, did you have more questions about host?
I have one tiny question here. This is like not. This is just. I'm just curious how you sort of grapple with this. This is a common thing that you might see in a lot of found footage horror movies.
Yeah,
is when at a certain point there's not as much of a justification for a character to be pointing the camera at like crazy stuff going on.
Brent, you just got to go with it. I was thinking the same thing.
Well, no, my question is, how do you grapple with that? Like, how do you deal with? I'm just curious about. I mean, this is something you see in a lot of like found footage horror movies, but like at a certain point, it's like, what's the justification for like showing, like for the person pointing the camera? Yeah.
Yeah. So we built it into the storyline. Like they kind of, the medium says like it's like you can't really break the connection, like, and they kind of needed each other to be there because they were scared as well. And we had the brilliant thing is like you can't go outside at the time we filmed it, you couldn't go outside in the UK really. It was like banned. So like in most horror films, people just shout at the screen, why don't they just run outside? And like that you can't run outside. Um, yeah, and that's kind of like one of the kind of reasons we did that. But yeah, you have to kind of like think like that, like at the end, you think why did Gemma pick up the laptop and bring it with her to find Haley? But then that runs into like some of the fan theories about who's to actually blame for this whole thing. Is it Gemma for calling that the false spirit, or if you think back right to the start, Haley looks a little bit perturbed, and she's the one who wanted to do the seance. She said she's done it before. She's friends with the medium. And also when Sailing comes on, you see when Sailing gets cut off, and then you kind of see something behind her as she gets cut off, the medium. And then when Haley calls her back, she's, what happened? And she's, oh, just a bad internet connection. But it's like, it's not a bad internet connection. Something happened. So you don't know whether to trust the medium, Haley, Gemma. There's loads of stuff going on there. But if you kind of watch it again and again and again, and you notice things around, it fills in a bit like an ARG kind of thing. It fills in more of the story, that we've put everything in there. There's loads of cool stuff in the background that just like spells out things.
I have a general question about horror movies because
Yeah.
People have said like watching Poundhouse that it's like a horror movie kind of, and I'm not like a horror movie fan. I mean, I like them, they're fun, but what are some, if someone wants to make a horror movie, what's your advice? Like, what are some basic horror movie things, tropes, or not even tropes, just like, things to do to make it work?
Easy. Well, first of all, I wanted to say that you guys should make a found footage Poundhouse for Halloween. For Halloween, it'll be you and Brent. Like for some reason, like I don't know, you both got your cameras on, and it's all filmed on your mobile phones, and you should do it for Halloween. And I'll help if you want. I'll like help you do it. I think it'll be cool.
Okay, I'm in.
But for horror films, one of the main things that people do in bad horror films, which you shouldn't do, is they show too much of the monster. And you'll notice in Host, you see a lot of empty space behind the girls. You see empty corridors, just blackness. And the scariest thing in the world isn't the thing you can see, it's the thing that you can't see. Because if you can see a shape, if you can see something, then in your mind you can fight it or run away from it. But if you can't see that thing and it's just a void, then it's the unknown. And the fear of the unknown is the strongest like thing you could possibly get. So people need to embrace not showing too much of a monster or a ghost or whatever. Show empty space, because that's the scariest thing ever. And where that's in some of the films that you see that represented best is there's a film, a really underrated film called Lake Mungo.
Lake Mungo?
Lake Mungo, which came out about 7-8 years ago. Hardly anyone's seen it. It's barely got any distribution, but it is not even one of the best horror films ever. It's one of the best films ever, but nobody's seen it. And it's one of the most, I don't know what's wrong with the distribution or what. It is crazy good. And it's about these parents who are being interviewed about their daughter's
Don't
death.
spoil this one for me now.
This way. It's
okay.
Parents who, and all this, the setup is a daughter has died, and it's just parents talking about their daughter who's died, and they show pictures of their daughter when she was young, and you see videos of the daughter when she was alive, and it is a real slow burn, but the scariest movie I've ever seen, and the most tragic and sad, and right at the end, joyous. It's unbelievable. And
no spoilers.
Yeah, I won't spoil it, but I heard it was going to be remade with a slightly bigger budget because it is quite low budget. I think I heard actually someone like Tom Cruise bought the rights or something. I'm not someone big bought the rights, but that hasn't come up. But yeah, Lake Mungo. The other thing I would suggest is probably I watched a cool LA-based one recently called Murder Death Koreatown, which is obviously set in Koreatown, and it's about a woman killing her husband and a guy who's just a neighbor who's trying to find out exactly why this happened. And it's spooky and weird, and he like films real homeless people in LA, and who obviously, if you say something to homeless, like, hey, did you see this murder? They'll tell you a crazy story about a murder that they once witnessed. But it just fits really well into the film because it makes you think, did they really witness this murder, or is this a different murder from 1969 or something? It's just really interestingly made, and I think in found footage, it's just a great way to scare people because it's real. And that's why we use all the real names for the girls, just because we wanted it to feel real and to be as authentic as possible. No score. And yeah.
I bet Brent likes that.
Yeah.
Well, that's my big pet peeve in movies is overuse of background music. You know, it always just makes everything seem corny to me. You know, like when there's overuse of background music.
Yeah. Speaking of like not showing, you know, the ghost or whatever the thing is that's scary. I remember, I think we mentioned it on the Poundcast before, but this movie, The Others, have you seen that? I think
love
Nicole,
it. I absolutely love it. Yeah, it's great.
yeah, I remember seeing that and being like so freaked out. And they don't really, you don't see it. It's all just all like off screen. It's like all. I just remember being like especially scared by that movie.
Yeah, definitely. It's such a good movie.
I kind of made a couple, I don't know, semi-horror little short videos just on my laptop camera, you know.
Have you seen those?
No, I haven't seen it.
I made them like kind of in the beginning of the quarantine, like in March, and it's called Safety Tips for right now. That's the first one, and then there's Safety Tips follow up, and but yeah, that same kind of thing, darkness, you know. Like I noticed when I was doing Zoom calls, if I had the light on in the background, it's kind of scary. It's just the darkness that was in back of me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought you can kind of play with that, you know,
definitely
that it's kind of grainy and hard to see because it's video, you know, it's a internet video, and you know,
it's cheap as well.
So it kind of like I even myself thought, I wonder if I could make some sort of feature length, you know, movie or even maybe a longer short film, you know, kind of just by myself in my apartment. And then you guys did this, and I'm like, damn, this is what you should. This is how to do it, you know.
We are releasing. Well, when we eventually release a physical media, we because we filmed every single stage of it, like the inception to us delivering it, we filmed absolutely everything. I talked to the stunt guys, the VFX guys. When we first told the actors we were doing it, the real seance, all that kind of stuff. We filmed everything on Zoom, so we have like a making of film as well. Just which I'm guessing we'll put it on the DVD as an extra or something, or we might release it separately. I'm not. I don't really know, but it's really interesting, and it's kind of a blueprint on how to do it.
There's a question from a Pound Pimple on Facebook.
Hey, okay.
Jacob wants to know. He says he really enjoyed Host.
Hey.
What's the well, there's a few things here. What's the most effective, scariest thing you've ever seen, experienced while watching a scary movie? Like, I guess I kind of asked this already.
Yeah.
What's a filmmaking trick was so good? What filmmaking trick was so good that you can't stop thinking about it? And I'll give his example. He says, for me, one of my favorite horror films is Hereditary because it was used as a device that I find to be one of the most effective scare tactics you can come up with. Lengthy shots where you can just make out a figure standing in the background, but you keep second guessing yourself because the shot and the performers aren't showing any signs that you should even notice it. It's the most effective, scary thing to me because it's exactly what you fear after the movie when you're laying awake and looking in the dark corners of your bedroom.
Yeah, no, that's good. And my one's similar. You know, with the film It Follows, where
I haven't seen that one, but
it was great.
I keep meaning to see it.
I saw that movie Under the Silver Lake during quarantine, which I thought was really good too, by the way. The same director.
Silver Lake. I've seen Under the Silver Lake as well. But in It Follows, they have there's times where they lock off the camera and it's real long shots of two characters in the foreground talking, and you see something in the background getting closer and closer and closer, and you know as an audience is that person going to come and kill them, or is that just a passerby? And that happens multiple times in the movie, and you don't know, oh, is this it? Is this when it's going to happen? But they just play with audience expectations, and that's just it. All they do is lock off a shot and just do long shots. And again, it's just the unknown, and it's the void and the absence of actually seeing something concrete. That's the most scariest.
Cool.
Before
Any other
we-
questions, Brent?
Well, yeah. Before we go, why you want to go into the After Dark?
No, we could. Why don't you go 5 more minutes and then we'll go After Dark?
Well, because
Yeah.
I guess my question is in the beginning of the episode, you said you had a pitch for us or something like that. Was it
That
the
was it.
Halloween Poundhouse thing, or was
Yeah,
it
that was
something
it.
else?
Yeah,
Oh,
Halloween
okay.
Poundhouse. Yeah.
And it's found footage. What do you mean by found footage? Because like, this isn't really found. This is, I wouldn't say host is found footage because you're.
Yeah, it is. Host is found footage, full on.
I guess I'm
it's-
thinking of it in the literal sense of found footage.
Yeah.
Like you're shooting
Blair
it.
Witch style.
It's deliberately shot. It's just looking. It's not. Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
that's the genre of usually horror. I mean, although it doesn't necessarily need to be horror. The found footage genre is like, yeah, I mean, it's acting, it's fictional,
Right.
but it's made to look like.
When I
this
think
is something
found
that was
footage, I
found.
think of like taking something and repurposing it.
Yeah,
But-
yeah.
I got you.
Yeah, no.
Like the Found Footage Festival, right? Where they just take random VHSs and cut
Yeah.
it all together and stuff.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, I
like
think
Blair
found
Witch Project is that it was
Perfect.
like one of the quintessential found footage horror movies. You know?
Yeah.
Understood.
I have a found footage idea actually.
Let's
Horror.
hear
I've
it.
had this horror idea for a while, but I don't know. It's not the kind of thing I would be able to do like this. I need to get a kid. I need to be there.
What's the idea? Let's hear it.
It's based on this scary dream I had, but I don't want to
Wow.
spoil it.
Can we hear the
Yeah,
dream?
Well, okay. Well, no, one day it will come out. Hopefully, it'll be like a
Okay.
10-minute short film. You know.
Yeah. Brent's like, I don't want Jed to rip this off and take it to Shadow and
All right. Well, before we go, let's each share a scary dream that we remember from our life.
Oh, okay.
I'll
I can tell you
I'll share one. I'll go first.
Go for it.
When I was a kid, I think it was a recurring dream, but I remember I was in like the back of our station wagon driving down a country road, and there was like long grass, that was like you could reach out. I remember reaching out of the car window and sort of like touching it as we're driving down. And I remember grabbing the grass, and I was suddenly yanked out of my car, and I was like all alone. And then I went into this like old house. And then in the old house was just like my sister, like at the piano with like her back to me. And it was just like absolutely like terrifying. And I couldn't like get her attention. I think it must be just like a childhood, like abandoned, scary, scared of being abandoned kind of dream. But I remember just being like lost from my family in this scary ass house. And I got yanked out of the car by the grass.
That's good. That's the thing
It
with
was
the system
terrifying. You had to
like
be
that,
there. You had to be there,
scary.
but it was terrifying.
Oh, shall I go next?
Yes.
Okay.
I had this real weird dream when I was a kid in school where I was in a school playground and all of a sudden everything went dark and I was alone in the playground. And bizarrely, I'm wearing a Freddy Krueger t-shirt right now, but Freddy Krueger appears and he said to me, Jed, something's going to go down right now. I'll spare you if you hit the fire alarm in the school, like when I send you back to the school. And I was like, okay, it sounds good. So then I zoom back into the school and I press the fire alarm, and everyone out of the school buildings comes into the school playground and are kind of like herded together. And then Freddy goes through them all, like killing them all. And I'm like, oh, what have I done? I've like made a deal with Freddy to kill like everyone in my school. And then I woke up and I just thought, wow, that's crazy. Like, yeah.
That's a good premise for a movie, though. You can use that.
Yeah.
You inadvertently aid the murderer, which is, that's a classic bad guy.
Serial killer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brent, you got one?
Well, the scariest dream I've ever had was I was 13 or 14, and I dreamt. Okay, in my dream, I got out of bed, And I was walking around. I walked into this room and I met this woman, and she had this really, she seemed like she was nice, but she had I don't know, something about her energy made me think she was evil. And she had just, her eyes were just white. And she gave me this message on a piece of paper. And I don't remember what the message said exactly, but the word midnight was on the piece of paper. And she said to give the message to my mother. And so I took this piece of paper and I walked upstairs to my parents' bedroom. And I just very vividly remember going up the stairway, and just, it felt really real. And I went into the bedroom and I was trying to tell my mom the message, and she was asleep. This is the middle of the night. And she kind of was just saying, okay, whatever, or go to back, or she was basically asleep, but kind of in her sleep, kind of telling me to go back to bed or whatever, And then I went downstairs and I went into a bathroom, and there was this floating head in the bathroom. And it actually kind of sort of a little bit looked like Freddy Krueger's face a little bit, but it was a head. It was bald. And yeah, it kind of had a similar look to Freddy Krueger. Maybe his eyes were red.
Jesus.
Though. And it was just a head floating. And then I turned the light on and the head disappeared. And I don't really remember much after that, but when I woke up from the dream, this is the scary part. The light was on in my bathroom. And there's no reason that light should have been on in the middle of the night. And it made me think, did I have no history of sleepwalking, but did I sleepwalk that dream? And if I did, that's creepy, because
at midnight, if you did it at midnight as well.
Was that?
If you sleepwalked at midnight, because the note said midnight, right, in your dream.
Yeah.
Brent, did you have your own ensuite bathroom?
Well, I shared a bathroom with with siblings. Yeah.
Well, here's what happened. Okay.
But they didn't get up. Nobody got up. Nobody turned on the light. Now, here's the thing. I walked into, the weird thing is that, did I go into this room, and I'm thinking a room with lights off, and imagine, was I interacting with some figure of a woman that wasn't there? Even that just sounds creepy to me, that I might have been sleepwalking and talking to just nobody, but in my head seeing a woman. That's weird. The whole light on thing is what made the whole dream really scary to me.
I think somebody used your bathroom. Maybe your dad had to get up, and he didn't want to disturb your mom, so he figured if he can let one blast in the kids' room, that's not a big deal. So the light is on, and you're kind of like sleeping, but the light is affecting your subconscious, and then your mind just kind of filled
from the dump.
Yeah, the log and the light. It kind of like it ignited this imagination in your dream, and that filled in the blanks of that whole narrative. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, it's quite possible. It could have been my dad, actually. He could have been up. He could have done it and forgot to turn off light, but it's very unlikely that it was my dad. It's very unlikely that anyone would have turned the light on and left the light on too.
It's unlikely, but it could have happened once.
Look, I don't really believe I was sleepwalking, but because I've never sleptwalked before, but it could have been.
Or maybe you were like so tired that when you got to your bedroom, you were so tired from playing Nintendo all day or whatever you did at age 13 that you stumbled into your room and you're like, I gotta get a bathroom, should brush my teeth, and you kind of like you flick the light, but it doesn't really go off, and you're like, I'm just gonna sleep. And the light has stayed on,
I don't know.
You caught your own reflection, so you thought that was the woman, maybe just in your
you looked at yourself. That was the woman, and you like your brain.
Well, I will say that it was before I had transitioned, so it might have been. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
No.
All right, let's wrap it up real quick.
Walking up the stair. When I was walking up the stairs, it was so vividly real. It really looked like the stairs that is in my house. It was so realistic, aside from the woman and the head, that's what made me think, did this kind of really happen in a weird way? Anyway, wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up because I have to go to the, what do you call it in England? The loo?
The
Yeah,
WC.
the toilet.
The WC, wash closet.
The water. I have to go to the water closet.
Water closet.
Well, thank you, Jed, for being here and for sticking around. And for the listeners who want to stick around with us, just sign up for our Patreon. It's as low as $2 a month, and that's 50 cents an episode to hang out a little bit longer and support the Poundcast. And check out Host on Shudder.
Yep.
And Amazon Prime or Amazon Prime. That is.
Just look it up. Movies are available. You'll find it somehow. You'll figure it out.
You'll find it.
Do you recommend people not watch the trailer, or do you think they should?
I say never watch the trailer.
Yeah, I say don't watch the trailer. I say just watch it.
Yeah,
just watch it blind.
Yeah.
I mean, this episode maybe has kind of spoiled things for you, so whatever. But anyway, yeah.
Even if you think it's spoiled, I just still watch it. It's just fun to watch the actors and it's just fun. And then just to get to that ending is worth it.
It's also it's inspiring. I mean, it really it makes me really. It kind of made me think I should try to think of some kind of movie I can try to make. From home.
Let's do a Zoom comedy.
Well, no, mine's not going to be horror. I'm thinking like of a comedy or a dramedy or something like that. I already have ideas and stuff, but I won't.
I love your basketball stuff, by the way. The 3 basketball videos.
Thanks.
So
you know what?
Yeah.
There might be another.
We might do overtime.
Overtime.
Because there's a lot of stuff we didn't use, and the Patreons might get access to all the raw footage.
Ooh, nice.
That's another perk of being on the Patreon. We might let the patrons do their own cuts to there's all kinds of several takes of each thing, different versions. There's also edit this thing a million ways.
Right.
They might get that. But let's wrap this up.
Yeah.
So I can go to the water closet.
Yeah.
So thank you, everyone. Thank you to Louisville Vegan Jerky, LouisvilleVeganFoods.com. Use the code word Poundcast. And I guess that's about it. And we'll see you next week on
the Poundcast.
Happy Spookies. That's a catchphrase from Host.
Oh,
Happy
Jed, real quick before we go away.
Yeah.
Anything you want to plug, like your social medias or anything?
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
Good point. Yeah. You can find me on Twitter at Jed Shepherd. That's JEDSHEPHERD. Same thing on Instagram. And yeah, Sam Raimi film coming out. Watch that whenever we make it. And yeah, just watch Host. Oh, I produce a bunch of podcasts and stuff for various different record labels in the UK. Google me, you'll find it.
Oh, really?
Wait, say what?
Yeah, I produce podcasts for Warner Music and Universal Music, and in the US as well.
All right, let's get into that after dark.
Okay, wow, that's a whole nother thing.
Cool.
Welcome to the Poundcast. 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 Welcome to the